Eleanor and myself, David Coe, and we're here. We're just let me prepare myself a little bit better for the next episode of Reading with Mum. And we're reading my book, Thriving at Nature's Pace. And my mum made a comment that was really interesting. She said the book is really heavy. It's quite hard for her to hold. And she was saying they should make it so that it is really light and small so that she can keep it in her pocket and it is easy to carry. So I think that's something we can think about in publishers.
Yeah,
What do you think, Mum?
yeah.
Yes, and I think the Japanese books are very much like that. They're tiny little ones. Maybe we can show that another time. So this time we're going to continue with our chapter on first things first. And this is a section about the economics has to be right. And we talked the last time about the problem of trying to make investments sustainable, and it's the problem about actually wanting the difference between wanting to do something that's good and actually thinking about where the money comes from and whether you're actually trying to simply forgetting about that. And when you do that as a business, where does that money go to? And that matters along as well. And that ends up also looking into the problem about business, that if it's always trying to make a little bit of money and is able to do so, one of the problems is other people looking at you may actually be the ones cutting the corners and making it worse. And of course, you say, that's not me, that's them. But the way your example can change a lot about how others do. So here we started talking about people managing forests as a way to do the good thing and to say that the trees absorb all the greenhouse gases, the carbon dioxide, and so that's a good thing. But of course, the problem is that they don't absorb all the carbon dioxide that we emit, and so that still leaves a lot behind. But because we tell people we're absorbing it, it makes people feel it's okay. So we forget about the little bits of dirt, the little bits of mess that we leave behind. As Mom keeps telling us, that's stuff that we got to tidy up. Otherwise, it just eventually clutters up your whole house, and which is what we've done with our planet. All those little bits that we've left behind, even though we're sweeping up most of it, when we don't sweep up all of it, they'll always find a place. So, but now we go on to the next part. The trees also don't absorb all the emitted carbon dioxide. In fact, they don't absorb any at all. I know that sounds crazy, right? The reason is because every year, 10 million hectares of forests are lost. That's a lot. Until these forests are fully replaced, any new trees planted at best make up for the lost trees. Sadly, each year only about 5 million hectares is grown, including new forests grown for carbon capture. So that leaves a gap of about 5 million hectares a year, which has to be filled before any real offsetting takes place. 5 million hectares is about the size of the UK. So just think about that. When you go along and you actually go for the carbon capture, go for the carbon offsetting with the trees, it sounds great, but what is happening is that more forests are lost than they're actually planted. And each year is about the size of the UK. So that's a lot, because in many over several years, you're going to lose so much forest you never catch up. Each year, the planet is in debt to about the size of the UK in additional trees lost. This accumulates over time until all of this increasing gap has been replaced. Any new trees planted are only making up for the forests that are lost. There is no real offsetting. The businesses that are paying for carbon credits are still adding emissions into the atmosphere. So the real economics is that there is so many trees lost that any talk of carbon offsetting is a lie. There are nowhere near enough managed forests to compensate for the natural forests that are lost, let alone offsetting what businesses need for their emissions. However, at each step, the economics is presented to make it look like it's working. So this is a way by which we look at what we do ourselves and we say, I'm doing the right thing. But we all live on the planet as a family. And if we don't care about what others are doing along with it, then what happens is none of it adds up, because somewhere along the line, something is taken away. that's never replaced. If trees aren't going to do it, then maybe technology can. The Conference of the Parties, COP, are annual conferences among governments to debate and negotiate steps to limit greenhouse gas emissions. In the COP28 meeting, the idea of carbon capture was pushed to the fore. This meeting was chaired by the chairman of a major oil and gas company, and oil and gas companies are the biggest proponents of the idea that instead of using trees, technology can be used to absorb carbon dioxide from the air. So this is basically using science experiments to do the job of what trees do. Here again, the economics is wrong. Technical solutions are solutions to very specific problems. They are fundamentally reductionist. They reduce a big complex problem into one element. In this case, this is to reduce the issue of climate change to tackling the specific removal of a few carbon dioxide molecules from the atmosphere. Technology is then sought to solve this very specific problem. This is usually possible in a laboratory. The error comes when it is extrapolated to claim that the big complex issue is now solved. So that's where your laboratory experiment is okay. You've managed to go along and you capture a few carbon dioxide, but in that case, you've actually ignored about all the things that you need for the laboratory to be there so that you can actually do it. So when you take it out into the bigger world, you find that all those other things add up, and that becomes a problem. This is how technology misses the lesson of climate change. Nature is calling on modern humans to examine how they connect with nature and each other. It is asking deeply, are modern humans willing to thrive at nature's pace? Carbon capture puts this question aside to offer an answer, as long as modern humans can do science. So I think we'll pause here because there's quite a lot in it already. And that I want to leave with that question at the end. From nature, that's what climate change is actually going on, which is, are we as a modern humans willing to thrive at nature's pace? In other words, are we willing to actually accept the constraints that come along, that we can't always have everything we want, basically? Or do we actually want to a situation where we can use science to give us everything we want? So I'll pause there, Mum. What do you think? Is that okay to pause, or should we carry on with it?
Well, that means if we pause, we are doing nothing.
Well, we end up doing the things that says we have to wait and see sometimes. We can't always just be pushing. It doesn't mean we do nothing forever. It does mean that some of the things that we think are right things to do, we have to pause to find out if they really are the right things to do.
Then we have to wait for the time that we solve the problem.
We have to listen and wait for nature and tell us along. So it's not just up to us, because nature also has to have a say. And if we don't pause, then we never give nature a chance to have a say. And at the moment, climate change is nature having a say. And so if we don't pause and listen to that and think of climate change only as the problem of too many carbon dioxide molecules in the heating too much, and not think of whether it is about how we are, then we're not learning potentially the lesson it's telling us.
So everything depends on the climate change.
So climate change, everything depends on it in the way that it may be the thing that is helping us to learn. So it is difficult, but maybe if we actually allow it to be difficult, we can actually come out in a different way. And that's what this book is about. So nature's pace is the pace that climate change itself is telling us. It is not our pace. And if climate change keeps getting worse with all the typhoons that you've heard about in Hong Kong and all those places, then we may have no choice. We can build as fast as we can, but it will knock it down as fast as we build. So all those things will matter along with it.
So it's very difficult to deal with climate change.
If we don't change how we think, then it is very difficult to deal with climate change. If we allow ourselves to think more openly about how we can thrive and not think of it as having to do the work that we have always been used to thinking about doing, and give more time and room for each other and nature along, then maybe we'll find a way through, a better way through. If we, and at the moment what we're doing is we're making it into saying, how can we live in the same way? And in what we think of as better, but in the same way, through climate change. And all those, in many ways, when you look at the actual cost of what it does to do that, look at the economics in terms of what resources are needed, the money that is needed, and what things are left behind, and what rubbish and things are left behind, and so on, is that the cost just keeps increasing. So that cost increasing is making our environment change. It is making climate itself changing. So that's why, in many ways, this book is saying you can't keep thinking in that way. And it's not about fixing climate change. It is about thinking, what is that better future that we want? How do we live? And how can we bring that about? But money matters. So this is about how we can reinvent money so that we can do that. It is, at the end of the day, it turns out to be about reinventing money. And allowing nature to be the one that gives us the money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye. That's it. I'm going to turn this.